Hey guys, welcome back to another video. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe so you can catch these new spills every week, and hit the bell up top so you can join my notification crew and we can squad up in the comments later on. Alright, so with the Thor Ragnarok film being about 2 months away, give or take, the marketing campaign for this film has just got me super stoked about it. And I'll dare to say that they probably got one of the best trailers that Marvel's put out for their films. But with the film being called Thor Ragnarok, we know that it's loosely based on the events that actually took place in the comics at Ragnarok. Because in the comics, Ragnarok was a couple of different things. It was a continuous death and rebirth of Asgard, and how it would occur as prophesied by Vala. And in the other instance, you have your character Ragnarok, who was created when Thor was presumed dead. And then Tony Stark, Hank Pym, and Reed Richards kind of put together an android kind of clone that was part Asgardian and part machine. And I highly doubt that any version of that will make it into the MCU, especially with Tony already making Ultron. But with the Ragnarok film, they will be taking elements from the comics and using those to put together a new story on the screen. And because this is a practice that they've done for some time now, it just had me thinking man, what are some things in the comics I would really like them to bring over to this film? And one of them just happened to be Odin using a minigun on Hela's dead army. And I also bring this up because going back and reading this, it had me thinking of people who saw the trailer and felt some type of way about Thor and Loki using guns and Scourge using guns. Valkyrie was even using a gun. And people were going crazy left and right oh, no, they would never use guns in the comic book. Okay. But there was a time where we did see this in the Secret Wars event. But the full story that led up to it happened in a Loki series that also includes events from the Incursion, Axis, and Secret Wars, all of which we talked about on this channel. But what this series does, it gives you another perspective of where these characters were during this event, or in this case, these 3 events. And when they did this in 2014, it wasn't anything new, and it definitely wasn't going to be the last time. And a very recent example of this is Secret Empire. Now, the series itself is 10 or 12 issues, and we started talking about this a year back when mostly the lead-up issues were coming out. And we touched on it a bit recently when I was explaining Captain America's new Hydra armor and how it works. But this is an example of a series that comes out and has about 10 issues, but then you have about 68 issues that kind of cross through, lead up to, and weave through the event itself. And some people may find that overwhelming, and it very much will be if you try to tackle it all at one time. But for the better part of storytelling, it serves 2 purposes. One, we're giving a lead up to a series, so when it starts popping, we're not just okay, who is this? Why is this happening? We just didn't go from 0 to 100 for no reason. Secondly, we get a better understanding of the story without too much puff information just filling it up for no reason. And on top of that, when you pull that stuff out and put it in its own series, you get to enjoy it a bit better instead of having it crammed into a main event. Like in this issue of Loki's standalone series where you see older Loki going against his mother Freya, and I like that she was a total badass in the MCU as well. I just wish we got to see more of her than just in Thor: The Dark World, because she's a badass in the comics too. But in this battle here between guys, they're using everything, man. They got scepters, swords, guns, everything. And personally, I like this unconventional telling of the story, and I hope they bring a lot of this to the film Thor Ragnarok as far as the fighting styles and the all-out battle. Because we know in the film at some point we're going to see Odin come back after Asgard's destruction. And it's anticipated to be a moment of badassery on many levels. Because when Odin really gets down, it's not like he needs the help. But when that happens, you'll see a lot of times that a bunch of characters will come out the woodworks. And like I said, it's not like he needs the help. But we do got to keep in mind, if Odin overexerts himself too much, he's going to go back into an Odin sleep. And in the MCU, I don't think he's trying to do that anytime soon. But in the comics, the things that brought this about while the 616 and the 1610 Earth were colliding, the story kind of revolved around 2 Lokis. One Loki is an alternate version from the future who's way darker than the previous Loki. But he comes back to our present time where Loki's died and came back good. Or at least he was trying to be good. And his alternate Loki was doing his best to make the previous Loki just as evil as he is in his reality. But at the time that he chooses to do this and team up with Hela, it's the same time that you have the Incursion event taking place. And this is exactly what I was talking about as far as taking pieces of the main event and let them breathe in their own story. Because in the Incursion event, where we mainly get a view of things that are happening in the 616, and in Cataclysm, where we mainly get a view of things that happen in 1610, when both of those worlds collide, there was really no place in either story to give us the opportunity that we got in Loki's standalone series. And in Loki's standalone series, we got a chance to see Heimdall, who can see everything, watch everything end. I mean, he sees Malekith, he sees Midgard, Frost Giants, Fire Demons, everybody. And for this reason, I really hope that we don't lose Heimdall in the film. And simply for the reason that nobody has a better view of catastrophic events than he does. And I know that's terrible, but if Hela's invading and she's destroying everything, Heimdall's got the best seat in the house. And there's been times where he can share his view with other people through telepathic instruments, like Enchantress when she used that to show everybody that Hela was coming. And even though we don't have an Enchantress in the MCU, it's possible that she could pop up at any time, because her sister did appear on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Don't ask me what episode, because I have the hugest love-hate relationship with that show altogether. I'm so serious. But that'll do it for this one, guys. This is really me just dropping some thoughts on the issue that came out a little while back and really shows some of the patterns that Marvel's been doing from pulling comics into the film. And as a fan, I just really hope that these issues fall into line with that blueprint. But let me know you guys' thoughts in the comments. Is this something that you guys want to see in a new Ragnarok film? And I'm also curious to hear you guys' thoughts on tie-in issues versus the main story. Because I know some people just want it all to happen in one straight line, but at the same time, me personally, I feel like it's good to have other references outside the story to tell you more about it, and also lead-ups to it to kind of warm you up to it instead of just hitting you right in the face right away. And I also want to give a shout out to our latest Patreon, William Thomas. I really appreciate the support. And as a huge fan of reading these different issues and having discussions on these different events, it's huge that you guys are just backing me up and helping me out with that. And speaking of appreciation, giveaway is still good for a few days. Details down in the description. Everybody who enters gets something. And I also got links up here, there, and everywhere for you guys to check out my other videos. With that said, don't forget to smash that like button, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Alright, later.